So you're after a smart speaker, but don't actually want to spend a ton of money. Actually, you're probably after an Amazon Echo of some description. It's become the de facto choice, especially the smaller, cheaper options. Now, it used to be really easy to just impulse buy an Echo Dot. It was the smallest, cheapest Echo available, and it sounds good. But with the Echo Pop now on the scene, that makes the decision a little less straightforward. So which should you buy? I'm Cam Bunton from Pocket-lint, and I'm going to tell you. So let's talk basics first, because we can get into sound quality, performance and all that jazz later. Design might just make a decision for you here in a couple of different but small ways. Both models are pretty small, designed not to take up too much room in your house, but if you're after something to squeeze into a really small area, the Echo Pop has you covered there. It's a shallower design, so while it's a similar height and width to the Echo Dot, its shape means it's not as deep, so it doesn't have the same footprint. It also comes in a soft purple and a teal colour option, giving you a little bit more visual splash on your shelf. It costs less than the Echo Dot 2, but in truth, there's only a $10 difference, or £10 if you're in the UK. So what the Echo Dot does have is variety. The canvas covered sphere is available in its bog standard variant, or you can have it with a digital LED display on the front which can tell the time or display graphics relevant to what you've asked it. It could be the weather, or it could be the name of the song you're currently listening to scrolling across the front of the orb. In fact, this is my favourite variant of the Echo Dot. It gives me a convenient always-on bedside clock as well as all the other features of an Echo Dot. It's a win-win. If you have younger kids, there's even the option for a kids edition. It comes with these really bright, cool patterns on the outside, plus access to a ton of kids content like stories. Now, the other minor thing worth noting here on the design front is the light bar. On the Echo Pop it runs across the top edge, but the Echo Dot has it surrounding the base of the speaker. It flashes blue when it detects its wait word to let you know it's waiting for you to ask it for something, and it lights up red when the mic is muted, or yellow when you have a notification. They both work the same, but the position could determine which you go for, because it might be a small difference, but it is at least worth considering, even if it's only just for a few minutes. For instance, the light around the base of the Dot reflects off the surface that you've put it on, creating a wide radius of light. However, if the speaker is placed higher than your eye level, you might not even see it. So the Pop having its light across the top edge means it might be more visible in situations where the speaker is higher than your eyes. If your Echo is lower than eye level, that extra light you get from the reflection on the Dot around it is definitely worth it. Now, for most people, the Echo is a timer and a music player, and in those simplistic ways there's no real difference between the Pop and the Dot. Both have Alexa built in, and they both even have the same processor, so what I found was that they're similarly responsive and reliable when it comes to waking up and asking them questions or giving them commands. It's not like the early days of Echo where you could sometimes be waiting for a few seconds before it even heard you, or having to repeat yourself all the time. It's fast, and the mic array on the Echo seems adept at picking my voice out clearly without any real need to repeat myself all that often. Except for times when it's misunderstood a music request and bizarrely thinks I want to listen to the Mary Poppins Return soundtrack, because what grown man wants to listen to that? Okay, fine, I do, but there has been the odd occasion where it does get the song or artist wrong, but it's not that often, and it linked up to my Apple Music account pretty flawlessly and can shuffle through my playlists. There are ways in which I did have a more full experience with the Echo Dot though. It has a few more sensors and capabilities built in that the Echo Pop doesn't, and to my mind it's one of the reasons I think it's worth paying a little bit extra for. One of those is the feature that lets you smack the top of the speaker when your morning alarm goes off to silence it. Try that with the Echo Pop and you'll probably cause some damage, or make a mess, or both. That same action on the Dot can also pause music that you're listening to, or resume playing it again. There is more, but the other smart features are very much just nice to have if you have use for them features, and not additional features I think are necessarily a deal clincher to anyone who just wants a smart speaker. For instance, the Echo Dot has Eero built in, and what that means is that the Dot can be added to your Eero mesh Wi-Fi network if you have one, becoming a node in that mesh system and expanding the Wi-Fi coverage further. It's easy to set up, but I've not found it all that essential, and I have had a few issues with using it as a node, which in the end meant I just disabled the feature. It just wasn't as reliable as the proper Eero nodes are. The other additional feature is the internal temperature sensor. It can detect the ambient temperature of the room that it's in, and then use that temperature as a way to trigger smart home routines. Again, as an example, if it gets really warm, you can have it kick a fan on that's connected to a smart plug or something like that. Useful, but only if you have the additional smart home products and gadgets required to make use of it. Now moving on to the all-important sound quality, and it's probably no surprise that the Echo Dot does sound a little better to my ears than the Echo Pop. Despite the fact that it has a smaller driver, it does sound better, and while it does look like a 360-degree speaker, it's got a single speaker angled slightly upwards just like the Echo Pop, but it still seems better at filling larger spaces. A big part of this is that it seems to handle the varying frequencies better than the Pop. It's a rich sound that handles bass more competently so that your music just feels a bit more warm. That's not to say the Pop is harsh and bad to listen to, it isn't. In fact, if you have it close by on your desk and the volume isn't pumped up too high, or if it's in a little nook without needing to fill a big room, the Pop is more than adequate and still gives decent, clear sound with good bass levels. It's just when I pay attention that bass seems to have clearer and more detailed texture on the Dot, and it doesn't get lost as easily and doesn't distort as much when I crank the volume up. Take a listen. Now, if you're sticking the speaker or a pair of them in a big room like your living room or the kitchen, you'll want a speaker that gives you that fuller sound in those bigger spaces, and the Echo Dot is the one of these two models that delivers in those spaces. In fact, despite its small size, the Dot is surprisingly well equipped to handle them. Obviously not as well as something big like the Echo Studio or the Echo Show 10, but much better than the Pop does. Now, in the end, it's probably pretty obvious by now which one of these speakers I'd recommend to most people. Considering it's only $10 or £10 extra, the added functionality and the sound quality are well worth spending that extra cash on. It doesn't come in those lovely pastel colours like the Echo Pop, but the Echo Dot is the one that comes with the option of an LED clock display and the ability to tap to play and pause and silence alarms, plus the bigger sound that's better for most spaces. The addition of the internal temperature sensor is useful, as is the Eero built-in feature. Not the only reason I'd go for the Pop, possibly placement of the LED light for certain angles, and the fact that it takes up a tiny bit less space for those really compact areas. Plus it's cheaper, otherwise spend the extra, you won't regret it, especially not if you stick the Dot in a pair with another one and get that full stereo sound. It's pretty fantastic for the money. Let me know what you think of these two speakers. Which will you go for, the Pop, or will you spend extra and get the Dot? I've been Cam, I'm at Cam Bunton on Threads and what used to be called Twitter. If you did like this video, please do leave a thumbs up, subscribe and tap that notification bell, and I'll see you again in the next one. Bye for now.